Hey everyone, so it probably took me a while to make season 2, but yeah, yeah, if you're seeing this right now, I probably did this recording like probably not long after recording for the first episode. And yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm in New York. I was in New York at the time, and yeah, I'm probably doing this in my bathroom, but yeah, this is season 2 of The Owl House, Separate Tides. Or Owl House season 1 built up its world, season 2 builds its characters. So apart from the last season, many things have changed for Luz for starters. Where she might be unable to return home, the key destroyed to prevent Velos from coming to her reality, and as a consequence, they need money to support themselves. And Luz feels she is entirely responsible for their situation. So Luz goes on a trip to find a sea creature, because it was her choice and she needs to solve it on her own because of said choices. And also the Golden Guard.
The Emperor is not a merciful man. Bye!
Luz can't do everything alone. Even when she feels she is responsible for everything and feels she must be the only one to solve it, having help can make things easier.
You and King want to be free? And I have to do this alone.
What's this alone business? Don't you remember? Us weirdos have to...
What? Stick together? Because you stuck with me, you lost your magic. You almost got turned to stone, and now you can't even afford your apple blood because you're worried about what I need to eat.
It's my fault all this happened. That's why I've got to do this alone.
I'll make it all up to you, Ida the Owl Lady. I promise.
And again, us weirdos do have to stick together. Echoes of the past. So there was this thing that kept bugging me when the series began. What exactly is King?
What is he?
It's a contained episode where King shows Luz and Lilith his kingdom. How he used to be king, how he had pawns, servants, but then he lost it all when he fell from his kingdom, from his throne, and discovers what he believes to be true was a lie. He was never really a king, and if he's not a king, if he never had a family or really had any servants, everything he believed was a lie, then what is he? As he finds the broken horns, he remembers. He remembers shaking, being stuck, weak. He wanted to help his father, but he was unable to, and he was in darkness. And he awoke and crawled, and then he fell and realizes this creature that is seemingly trying to hurt them, was his caretaker. Now, I want to talk about Amity Blight. In my previous video, Amity established herself as somewhat of an antagonist of the first half of season 1. Looking back with additional context, we understand Amity has to be the top student because she has to have these specific ranks in order to maintain an illusion of status her parents want her to have or to be, because if she doesn't, then she fears their retaliation. And in this episode, this is the retaliation on full display, as Luz and her friends get expelled, and so Luz tries to prove to them that they are not a distraction. And Amity must find power within herself to stop her parents' plans. And there's also another fun episode where Luz and Amity go to the library and find a book. Amity gets fired because, well, she went somewhere without her boss's permission, and Luz gets it back. And the book they try to find was about Philip Whitman, the first human possibly going to the Boiling Isles and just stuck.
My name is Philip Whitman, and I have found myself in a world so horrid, yet so fantastic. Few minds could have dreamt it. If only those at home could see what I have, but perhaps they shall. For the more I learn about this realm, the more I am certain I can harness its strange powers to return home. Today, I begin recording my journey to create a portal back to the human realm.
Ada's Requiem. It's about Ada and her insecurity with relationships, or her rekindling with Rain. Dana briefly weaves in two parallel stories. After King discovers he has a father, Ada becomes afraid that sooner or later, Luz and King will leave her behind, but finds an old friend. Asking, what is a requiem? Well, aside from a requiem, I'm going to mispronounce this, am I? A requiem is any piece of music composed or performed as a memorial to a dead person or persons. And a requiem for this episode is Ada's and Rain's former relationship. As Ada comes to realize that her relationship with King and Luz may not survive forever, that sooner or later, Luz will leave her back to the human reality, and King may leave her to find his father. The whole story, the whole theme of this episode is perfectly shown through this musical requiem. And she misses the times they spent together like this, not fighting against something, not fighting for something, but just having fun and fighting for each other. I want to talk about a song both Rain and Ada's play specifically, Rain's Rhapsody. And you know what? It freaking slaps. Quick, tense, calming, and beautiful. While Ada acts as like a covenant for Rain, Rain goes first and Ada follows him. Ada is trying to keep up as Rain goes faster and faster with his violin, and Ada follows suit. She doesn't know if she can stick with his solo, but after a while, she gets used to it. And as her solo continues, her fears, her anxieties take over her. It sends chills down my spine. It almost feels scary, horrifying, like a specific curse that almost slows down. No, almost ruin, change the melody and tempo they have for them. And Rain sacrifices himself so Ada can go back to the two people she cares about most. And what happened to Rain? Well, we'll find out later. Because Ada has people to go back to. Luz and King will stick by her, and the only reason that they did this was, well, to show that, yeah, they have family, but Ada is the most important person of all. Now, for another commercial break. So, there was news a while back that the Owl House was supposed to have a season 3, however, Disney executives decided to cut it short, and surprisingly, they didn't include Dana, the producer herself, in these talks. They said the reason for cutting it short because it didn't simply fit their Disney brand, which has me confused because what exactly is their Disney brand? However, they also cited due to COVID-19 and how it would affect their production. But I also have to ask, if this isn't their brand, then what the hell is their brand? Because you're promoting one brand, yet you're speaking against it at the same time. I guess sometimes shows may have to be cut short if it doesn't sell. And according to data, The Owl House is one of the most watched shows on the Disney Channel and also Disney Plus. It was actually selling. It was also trending on Twitter. And what Dana Terrace said, while we have issues airing in a few countries and are just straying up ban in a few more, I'm not going to assume bad faith against the people I work with in LA. Terrace went on to note that while they did have to tighten their belts with regard to their budget in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Disney just wanted to be done with the Owl House, and this was the perfect chance to do that, they added. Even getting the Constellation Season 3 episodes was difficult, apparently. Hard to say, I wasn't allowed to be part of any conversations until I was just told. Wasn't even allowed to present my case. Love the transparency and openness here. I'm not going to assume or spread misinformation that Disney deliberately kept it from Dana because of its queer representation, because I get it. Disney is a studio, but it is first and foremost a business. But at the end of the day, whatever show does not hit their clusters, viewership or sales ends up being cut. However, there is some other evidence that they did cut it for LGBTQ+ reasons, or just simply homophobia just in general. You see, during that time, there was this legislation called the Parental Rights in Education Bill, or what it actually is, the Don't Say Gay Bill, forcing teacher staff to out LGBTQ plus students to their parents and restricting education to much needed sexual education. Bob Chapek condemned the bill. However, in business, other creatives within Disney found themselves restricted when it came to LGBTQ+. They continued to support LGBTQ episodes and shows, however, they also continued to support anti-LGBTQ+ legislation. Coming back, they also have studios in Florida, and basically the bill was in Florida and was being legislated in Florida. If they decide to choose otherwise, they might find themselves losing their tax-exempt status in specific Florida state areas.
I'm playing both sides so that I always come out on top. So, with this information, I'm going to leverage you guys into making me the head of security at the new Patty's Pub.
What I'm trying to say is, Walt Disney has always been well known for their animation. I'm not going to say that Disney is the best company to work at, based on sitcoms and also recent allegations to other producers or directors. They're not perfect. They can be doing better. However, I find it suspicious they only bring up grooming whenever gay content shows up.
She be doing in the sand? Be ye a crab maiden?
Philip's time!
And yes, I am a crab maiden.
Knock, knock, knocking on Hootie's door. Honestly, it's possibly one of the funniest and heart-wrenching episodes of the season, as Hootie pretty much solves kingdoms, aids, and loses emotional conflicts. And I realized that when recording the first season, recording my thoughts on the first season, I failed to mention, Hootie. And it's not because I don't like him, it's because that he doesn't really play too much into the main story overall. Honestly, I like this episode because it allows Hootie to actually have a more focused role in this episode and actually be the main character. Hootie helps King define who he is and ultimately fails, but it's nice to see that he has a family. But he knows that he has a family somewhere else who possibly misses him and wonder if he's alive. And Ida comes to terms that she is responsible for the downfall of relationships because she's afraid of what the curse can do with them, and how it can hurt them. But also comes to terms that the curse doesn't want to be with her either. And both come to terms that they don't want to be with each other, but they are forced to be with each other. That you can't have one side of good or evil. You just have, it's not how it works. And that the curse isn't something she can't throw away from. She can't throw away. It is a part of who she is. And by accepting it, discovers a new form. And
Oh yeah, that's silly. Why would Amity be in our... Amity!
Loose?
Dana and the creator of this essay do not condone kidnapping. The creator, however, finds it hilarious in this context. And Hootie makes a love tunnel for them, and it's honestly the funniest thing I ever saw. And honestly, Hootie is the real MVP of this episode. Yesterday's lie.
A new life. You!
And the writer for this episode is Molly Ostertag. And the inspiration of this idea for this episode was from a tweet Molly Ostertag had posted. I had always wanted to explore Luz's choice in Season 1, Episode 1, to stay in the demon world, and to have an episode focused on Camila and someone who loved the human world the way Luz loves the demon world. Really proud of this one. And oh boy, did she really nail that assignment. What Molly establishes in this episode was Luz's yesterday lives and how leaving the human realm had consequences not only to her, but how her mom may be potentially worried about her. How will she react that she's gone? How scared will she be not knowing where her daughter is or even if she is alive? How will be the thought that no one will believe her that her daughter will just run away? And that's where V comes in.
Why couldn't this just work out? Stop moving. You'll make it tighter.
And she acts like Luz, as Luz has a love for the demon world. V has a love for the human world. She's the person that Luz wishes she can become. normal. That if she was normal, she would have friends. And we learn more about V. V is a basilisk who feeds off of magical energy and was imprisoned along with other of her kind, forced to feed other creatures for others' entertainment, until she escaped along with some others. Realized it wasn't long until they were all captured again. But when Luz entered the Boiling Isles, she discovered an opportunity to get out and escape, and disguised herself as Luz because she was the only human she saw. When she met Camila, she felt bad for her, and she despised her, not because Luz entered the demon world, but because Luz had a good in the human realm. She had a mother who loved her, and she left for an adventure. I mean, hear me out. There's actually a video where Luz is comfortable talking to magical rats than actual people. Camila finds the terrible reality of what happened.
Yes, I've learned so much. Staying here was the best decision I ever made.
You chose to stay there?
Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. This really hit me hard. This has really been building up since the first episode of season 1. How will Camila react? And honestly, she's understandably mad, but also worried. Worried she may be in danger. Worried that she's in a land that she's not familiar with. Worried that her daughter may not go home, or she may see her again. Or the fact that Camila caused her to run away. And yeah. Elsewhere and Elsewhen. So Elsewhere and Elsewhen is an episode where Lilith and Luz go back in time to find Philip Whitman and see how he was able to travel between the realms. I find it interesting how the Boiling Isles was a lot better placed than it is now. And
Rest up.
Thank you for your kindness, Crab Maiden. Perhaps we were destined to meet.
I have a feeling this is foreshadowing.
pretty much this episode is a bunch of fan service, but also kind of shows another potential thread for season 2. Oh my god! Reaching out. So this episode was a lot. Luz wakes up and realizes that there's a very, very important event happening in the human world that she is unable to go to. Amity wants Luz to help her to enter a fighting competition so she can gain a belt and maybe learn more about her dad, why her dad was interested in fighting in this competition in the first place. And honestly, it's a very fun tournament arc. And honestly, I love tournament arcs. 2 people fighting, showing off their powers, their abilities, and why they fight. And it is a fun, distracting episode. But Luz, however...
Wow, everybody's got this in the bag. Guess I don't need to do much. I can just sit back and think about things.
She's deliberately avoiding her situation. Now, a purpose of a fight scene is why are they fighting? It's either to save someone for fun, but mainly just for fighting for something or someone. Luz joins in, not to just have fun, but in a way to punish herself and distract herself from the situation she caused herself and the constant anxiety and dread that she left her mother in. And I know I failed to mention this before, but Luz is canonically a neurodivergent character. And there's a stereotype that I need to discuss, that there's a stereotype that all neurodivergent people do not know what they're doing, which is simply not okay and simply not at all true. Because I get the idea something is right to them but not right to others, and it kind of demeans and almost excuses their actions when they do something really bad, hurt other people, or just, well, do anything bad. And she feels she is solely responsible and it's her duty to fix them, which is a good thing for her to recognize. She recognizes her actions have consequences. They hurt people, but in a lot of cases she believes they suffer solely, I say it, solely because of her, and she must solely fix them on her own. She also displays symptoms of rejection sensitivity disorder. And how I can define a rejection sensitivity disorder based on other articles is when she knows that she messes up and she feels she must fix it herself. However, by doing so, she endangers herself to make things right, and as also tries to please people. But she fails to realize that being in this process scares them even more. That, yeah, she's trying to do things right, but she's also hurting herself at the same time. And I love this interaction with Amity and Luz, because I find in way too many sitcoms or other trashy anime series that person overreacts and also person overreacts. They have a secret, and their insecurities, their anxieties gets the better of them, and they blow a situation way too out of proportion instead of just talking and communicating like regular adults. But they understand each other. Amity is patient with Luz, even with Luz's shortcomings. She is willing to be with her, that she is not like the other people, and it takes some time for her to understand things, but she is patient. And Amity understands that she's going through a lot, and decides to trust her, and has the courage to trust her.
Can I, sit here?
I've always wanted to enter this brawl. I thought it would be fun to bring home the belt. And I thought I could understand my dad better. But then you joined the competition. And then you tried to mess with that abomaton on your own. And then you lied about it. You've been acting strange all day. Does it have something to do with the human realm?
Oh, okay. I don't talk about this because it happened like a long time ago, and it's like totally not an issue anymore, but today's the anniversary of my dad passing away. That's not an excuse for what I did. Like I said, it happened a while ago, so I didn't want to bring it up. He always brought us flowers on our birthdays, so after he passed away, we started picking flowers for each other. And then we'd visit his grave, and me and my mom would spend the day together. It's nice, but this year I'm not with her, and I don't have any flowers.
And when you told me about the problem with your dad, I don't know.
Maybe I was jealous or just needed a distraction. I was dumb. I'm sorry. Whoops, got a case of the old jelly legs. I'll catch up.
I don't know what rituals you have in the human realm, but I'll help you pick some flowers and we can do something here.
And to make them feel better. Hollow Mind. Luz and Hunter enter the mind of Belos. And honestly, it gives a dissection of both religious apathy, religious fascism, and also how one man can just exploit other people's fears and misunderstandings for power. We know that Belos is clearly respected among his other subordinates and the people because he did something that no one could: get rid of the wild witches and to bring order through the chaos, and also to keep everyone safe. There were no wild witches aiming to destroy them. It was all a situation orchestrated by him so he can gain power, to exploit their fears, their anxieties, so when they have no one else left, they can appoint him as the ruler of the world. It made me think of a quote: "Never meet your heroes, they may end up disappointing you." And as Hunter is confronted with the fact that his master and father figure is a monster, his first step is denial.
Can't deny it now. Belos is trying to hurt people.
You
He was just perfecting sigil magic. Besides, maybe he's remembering things wrong. Who knows how mindscapes work?
I thought you did.
Well, maybe I'm an idiot.
And I have a theory about the little boy and the monster inside him, symbolizing his monstrosity side is a curse inside of him, and the boy is the jester, persistently guiding them to the memories he wants them to see. And from a young age, it was always a part of him. And it makes you think of another quote. No one is born evil. Evil is learned. And what is worse is the near ending.
Mental, if I were you. His pretty little words should make pretty good kindling.
That doesn't belong to you. No. No, no, no.
Astounding.
It's okay. We can help. I know you want to get home, but nothing is worth hurting people.
I just need to live long enough to see this through.
No, no, no. You're Bellows. You're just Bellows.
Please, do me a kindness and call me by my real name.
I can't.
You're Philip Whittabane, aren't you?
I can't believe I taught Philip something new.
I'll go talk to Philip.
Philip, why did you bring us here?
Does feel good to hear another human say that name. I had to change it when Philip was run out of too many towns. I told you once before, Lazura. Perhaps we were destined to meet.
And what about Hunter? What's a Grimwalker?
He's a better version of an old friend. But thanks to you, I'll have to make another.
Because it shows Luz is indirectly responsible in influencing Bill's philosophy on the Boiling Isles, that if she didn't come here, Philip wouldn't want the conquest. None of the witches would have died. And also, during the 16th century, where explorers wanted to imperialize other foreign nations, believing other countries would be better if they led them and controlled them, that Luz is the person who desires adventure. However, Belos is the white foreigner who took advantage of their fears and anxieties to engage a power fantasy. And it hit me in the feels because Luz feels directly responsible for what happened. Why the witches are being exterminated? Her. How Whitman became Belos? Her. How he found a collector? All because of her. And barely escaping Belos' mind, and only for a few more days before the day of unification, they have a lot to do. Okay, I already want to get through the rest of Season 2 quickly so I can work on Season 3. And plus, there's a lot of stuff to go through, things I've got to cover. Ready? Good. King Luz finds his people and discovers he's a Titan. More on the way. Luz and Ida find out Belos is going to use everyone's energy to open a portal to the real world and conquer everyone. Yeah, really, evil I know, but we don't have time for that. Turns out Reyes was still alive and still working for the resistance, and turns out some of the other Coven heads were in on it, and come with a plan. Ida wants reassurance from Rain that Luz will be safe. Luz and Ida fight, but that was before then, and you know what, I'm confusing myself. Moving on. And a legendary kiss scene of all time.
Oh, crikey.
But I don't have enough time to talk about it. Luz fights Belos, Belos gets the upper hand, Luz tricks Belos, and the Collector...
I'm it.
Well, I'm scared now. Oh look, looks like the Collector is... Oh shit. Wait, Luz, what are you doing? And oh, King, no. And that's the end of Season 2. And tune in for Season 3 in a month or a couple of weeks to see what happens.
Hey, Mom. I'm back.